I want to start just with the price action, right? Because you get this momentum in cryptocurrencies. People get very excited, and then it falls on hard times. This feels like a cycle we keep living through. When do we break out of that cycle? Do we break out of that cycle?
Well, look, I think it's been an 18-month bull cycle for us. It doesn't always seem like it. The volatility of Bitcoin is much higher than what we're used to seeing. So we see these massive upswings to 64K, back down to 30K in May, and you say, oh, it's the bull cycle's over. But you got to remember, like March 2020, we were at less than 10K per Bitcoin. Obviously now making its way back up to 50K. I think we're still in the middle of actually a pretty significant ongoing bull run. So backstopping this, I think it's institutions. We've been working on this for the last 10 years, and I think it's paying off. The questions that face entities like ours are getting answered, from security to regulatory compliance to insurance, et cetera. We have not seen any retreat on institutional interest.
Yeah, you've had huge institutional interest, right? BitGo was bought by Mike Novogratz's Galaxy Digital. Bloomberg works with Galaxy to create some indexes as well. When does it go to the next level, Mike? When do Goldman Sachs, Morgan Stanley, and JP Morgan start doing business with institutional clients in Bitcoin?
Well, every one of those parties you just mentioned is already been exploring for the last 2.5 years. I think in the last big surge, which is all the way back to 2018, things weren't quite ready. And now 20 and 21, of course, things are looking a lot different. And we're also on the backstop of the pandemic, which has forced us to take a look at questions of what does the U.S. monetary policy mean for the long term, and how am I going to deal with that, depending on what my investment portfolio looks like. So all of those guys are coming to play, and they're all figuring it out right now, and that's exactly what the whole industry is building.
That seems, Mike, to be on a path to consider it a form of currency. I've heard some pretty persuasive arguments that I should stop thinking of cryptocurrencies and Bitcoin as a means of transacting, and more of a store of value, like a gold. Is that how you see it, or you actually see people just sort of transacting as if this is a currency all on its own?
Well, digital assets at large are going to transform almost everything that's going on in the financial system, and that could include payments. Bitcoin is probably not the solution to payments. I mean, frankly, you get paid in dollars, and you want to make payments in dollars. So I think Bitcoin itself is not going to make a fantastic payment system. Other technologies could emerge. So yes, Bitcoin is much more a value for the store value.
I always wonder about this, Mike, because there was a time when it was much easier to spend. I actually lived on Bitcoin for a couple of weeks, and I bought groceries and beer and video games and gasoline. It didn't take that long. Now, it's a much longer and more involved process. Can it change? Can the miners vote to eventually make Bitcoin original Bitcoin, something that's easier and faster and more efficient to spend?
Well, that technology is emerging. So we've got a product called Lightning Network. It's not a BitGo product. It's an industry initiative, but which enables massive, scalable, cheap payments on top of Bitcoin. So that will come. Today, in terms of payments that are being done, if you have to make international payments, Bitcoin is way easier than banks. It's open 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. You can get it done on the weekend, and frankly, it's just easier to move. So that's a segment of payments which is starting to work today, but of course it only is relevant if you're sending a significant size payment. For the smaller day-to-day stuff, technologies like Lightning or other are going to come along and make that happen.
Is it a case now of, you talked about the institutions getting involved, and Matt brought that up too, right? Do we need just a bigger push from some bigger names? We've had a few, obviously, put their weight behind Bitcoin. What gets the average person thinking, okay, this is for me? Because there's still a lot of holdouts.
Well, I think people are looking for, institutions and others to participate. I think the ETF is the next big milestone that's going to come, which is really going to enable things. Whether that happens, early next year, a little bit longer, I mean, I guess that's the question of the day, or the question of the year. But that's going to provide finally a very easy way for people to enter and participate in the market. They'll know that it's regulated. They can get it to their regular broker. They don't have to establish new policies and procedures for themselves around security and things like that. As the industry gets bigger, the volatility goes down, makes it a lot easier for people to digest, and everything gets a lot stronger.